Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this is like take 3. We did the entire reading already once, and the old mics did their thing on us. So here we are.
And then the second time we forgot to put the mics
in. Even
we didn't even have the mic. So this time, let's see.
See how we go.
All right, it's Canto 4, Chapter 14, Text 24.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 24. Those who out of gross ignorance do not worship the King, who is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, experience happiness neither in this world nor in the world after death. So this is King Vena speaking to the Brahmins. Text 25. You are so much devoted to the demigods, but who are they? Indeed, your affection for these demigods is exactly like the affection of an unchaste woman who neglects her married life and gives all attention to her paramour. Text 26 and 27. Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra, Vayu, the master of air, Yama, the superintendent of death, the sun god, the director of rainfall, Kuvera, the treasurer, the moon god, the predominating deity of the earth, Agni, the fire god, Varuna, the lord of waters, and all others who are great and competent to bestow benedictions or to curse all abide in the body of the king. For this reason, the king is known as the reservoir of all demigods, who are simply parts and parcels of the king's body. Purport. There are many demons who think of themselves as the supreme and present themselves as the directors of the sun, moon, and other planets. This is all due to false pride. Similarly, King Vena developed the demoniac mentality and presented himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such demons are numerous in this age of Kali, and all of them are condemned by great sages and saintly persons. It's funny, because we just read verses 24 to 27, where King Vena is really, well, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Don't worry about all these demigods, you're supposed to be focusing on me and la la la. And then when you get to Prabhupada's purport, there are many demons who think of themselves as the supreme. I mean, Prabhupada just cuts it, This is all due to false pride. He just gets to the point that, this is like just arrogance and pride and demoniac mentality, and that's all there is really. Which is, I guess it's true, because you're either subservient to a higher power, whatever you want to call that higher power. Krishna, Jesus, Jehovah, Allah, big man in the sky. Whatever you want to call him. But either you are or you're not. And the irony is, if you're not, you're still going to go, like I was saying previously in the previous take, you're still going to go in the same way as we all are, really. Which is you're going to get old, you're going to get diseased. Actually, if you're lucky, as I read somewhere, if you're fortunate, you experience old age. Actually, it's a blessing. Not to see it as negative, I'm so old. You should just see it as a blessing that you get to live to be old and haven't died. If that makes sense. But you're going to die, basically. So the question is, what am I supposed to be focusing on then? So I ask myself every day as I get older.
Wow. Powerful. Okay, text 28. King Vena continued, "For this reason, O Brahmanas, you should abandon your envy of me. And by your ritualistic activities, you should worship me and offer me all paraphernalia. If you are intelligent, you should know that there is no personality superior to me. who can accept the first oblations of all sacrifices. Yeah, it's just so much pride, so much arrogance, so much conceit. And interestingly enough, that perspective means that I think others are envious of me. You know, like he says, you know, if you can abandon your envy of me, then you can worship me. Anyway, Prabhupada gives his purport. As stated by Krishna himself throughout Bhagavad Gita, there is no truth superior to him, to Krishna. King Vena was imitating the Supreme Personality of Godhead and was also speaking out of false pride, presenting himself as the Supreme Lord. These are all characteristics of a demonic person. So we can see that a person who is demonic is against God, and therefore their tendency is to claim to be God, or as what was revolutionary for me when I first heard it is that, Srila Prabhupada just boldly stated that, we're just imitation gods. We're all here pretending to be God. We wanted to be God, and therefore we came to this material world, and we get the opportunity to try to pretend to be God. Yeah.
Text 29. The great sage Maitreya continued, thus the king, who became unintelligent due to his sinful life and deviation from the right path, became actually bereft of all good fortune. He could not accept the requests of the great sages, which the sages put before him with great respect, and therefore he was condemned. Prabhupada. The demons certainly cannot have any faith in the words of authorities. In fact, they are always disrespectful to authorities. They manufacture their own religious principles and disobey great personalities like Vyasa, Narada, and even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. As soon as one disobeys authority, he immediately becomes very sinful and loses his good fortune. The king was so puffed up and impudent that he dared disrespect the great sages, the great saintly personalities, and this brought him ruination. Well, there you go. It doesn't always show, when you're like disrespectful to saintly people, because saintly people don't necessarily react on the same wavelength as people who are offensive, meaning their reaction is forgiveness and tolerance. Doesn't mean they're not hurt or angry, but they may not choose violence, whether it be physical or with words. And so one may feel, I won this because they're gone, or they didn't react because they're too scared. But it doesn't mean things are not occurring on the other side, and even if they're not occurring to where someone is rightfully so confronted, as it were, as we're learning here in Bhagavatam and through Prabhupada, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, doesn't let it go where his saintly devotees are concerned. So what we're learning here is that King Vena is basically doomed because he's disregarded the sages, and not just disregarded them and said thanks, but no thanks, thank you for that, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to follow it. But it's actually rude and offensive. So he's crossed the line, and as Prabhupada says, nothing's good's going to come of that, and it's actually brought about his ruination, basically.
Yeah. And I think they tried to approach, they tried to approach him with respect. They tried to be nice. They were generous. They already knew the man was horrific in so many ways. But they still tried to approach him and give him the benefit of the doubt. And this is what you get, as they say. Text 30. My dear Vidura, all good fortune unto you. The foolish king who thought himself very learned thus insulted the great sages, and the sages, being broken-hearted by the king's words, became very angry at him. So it takes a lot to make a sadhu angry, but, well, not all of them, but some of them. All the great saintly sages immediately cried, "Kill him! Kill him! He is the most dreadful, sinful person. If he lives, he will certainly turn the whole world into ashes in no time." Makes me think that, there was probably, as always, there was probably some of the sages, the sadhus, the saintly persons were like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's approach him. Let's try to talk to him nicely. And there were those who were like, forget that. He's never going to listen. He's just the way that he is. We should just curse him now, burn him to ashes. And so you can imagine that as soon as he started speaking like this, those who were like, in the group who were like, let's just burn him to ashes, were just like, that's it. Just see, we're done. We're not taking any more of this. Purport. Saintly persons are generally very kind to all kinds of living entities, but they are not unhappy. They are not unhappy when a serpent or a scorpion is killed. It is not good for saintly persons to kill, but they are encouraged to kill demons, who are exactly like serpents and scorpions. Therefore, all the saintly sages decided to kill King Vena, who was so dreadful and dangerous to all human society. We can appreciate the extent to which the saintly sages actually controlled the king. If the king or government becomes demonic, it is the duty of a saintly person to upset the government and replace it with deserving persons who follow the orders and instructions of saintly persons. I mean, Prabhupada there is just like talking about overthrowing the government. But this this statement from the Bhagavatam also, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's from the 7th canto and conversation with Prahlad Maharaj, and maybe the Python Sadhu, I think. But I'm pretty sure it's from the 7th canto, but I could be mistaken. Srila Prabhupada tells this story how he was with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It was some sort of a gathering. And Prabhupada was like in a back garden somewhere, and then all of a sudden Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared like on a veranda up above everyone, and he said, and he shouted in Bengali or Hindi, and kill it, kill it, kill it. And a bunch of disciples ran out with shovels, and they just whoosh, and there was a snake, and I'm pretty sure it was like a big cobra that was coming across the yard towards Srila Prabhupada. And then they killed the snake, and Prabhupada was like aghast, and he expresses that at that point he had some doubt, and Bhaktisiddhanta, like, why would the saintly person order the killing of a snake? They're meant to be Vidyavinaya Sampani Brahmani Gavi Hasani Shuni Chaiva Swapaki Chapandita Samadarshana. They're meant to see with equal vision, all living entities. But then later Prabhupada read in the Bhagavatam this passage where it said that even a saintly person takes pleasure. Prabhupada is putting it nicely here. He says they're not unhappy, but there I'm pretty sure it says they take pleasure in seeing a serpent or a scorpion killed. Why? Because those living entities by nature are envious and they can't help themselves. And again, there's another story of the scorpion who convinced the frog, right, to go across the lake. And he every day kept saying, please, Mr. Frog. And they became really good friends. And he was saying, you can go across the lake. I can't. Why don't you just give me a ride across the lake? Then I can go on the other side. And the frog was like, no, you're a scorpion. And he's like, yeah, but I won't sting you. He said, no, but you're a scorpion. You can't help yourself. And so eventually, day after day, the frog relented, and he said to the scorpion, okay, hop on. And he started swimming across the lake. And about halfway across the lake, the scorpion just went whoosh, and stung him. And the frog was like, why did you do that? And he said, I don't know. I can't help myself. And they both died in the middle of the lake. So it's one of those stories. It's like, you can't, sometimes someone who has that nature, they just can't help themselves no matter how good you are to them,
But we have to be careful because sometimes people use that excuse as just by nature and then they get away with doing silly things.
Yeah. For sure. Next verse.
What verse we on?
32.
The saintly sages continue, this impious, impudent man does not deserve to sit on the throne at all. He is so shameless that he even dared insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu.
How dare he?
Purport. One should not at any time tolerate blasphemy and insults against Lord Vishnu or his devotees. A devotee is generally very humble and meek, and he is reluctant to pick a quarrel with anyone. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Not the ones I know. No. Nor does he envy anyone. However, a pure devotee immediately becomes fiery with anger when he sees that Lord Vishnu or his devotee is insulted. This is the duty of a devotee. Although a devotee maintains an attitude of meekness and gentleness, it is a great fault on his part if he remains silent when the Lord or his devotee is blasphemed. Yeah, so powerful. We were just saying that in the first take. That it can actually be a disservice. Like as Prabhupada says here, it's a great fault if we remain silent when the Lord or his devotee is blasphemed. And one thing could be like if you had to pick between the two, Krishna can sort out his own battles and he's tough enough. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but the devotees are here and now, and we can see they have feelings, they have emotions, they're going to get hurt physically, emotionally. So it's very important, I was just saying this, that to not become sentimental and, I don't get into confrontation. Even when you speak to sometimes devotees and you mention something, you're not trying to have like a gossip fest, you're just trying to share something, and then they get really like, oh my God, because they just don't want to hear anything. No, that's actually not natural, and you're trying to be like, block up your ears and Vishnu, but you're not naturally doing that. And actually devotees, I say this in my having viewed things, seen things. I'm just saying that, devotees get hurt. It's not the right way to just ignore, and be in ignorance of, we're not going there, not getting involved and getting sentimental. Sometimes you have someone's being a wali, you got to say you're being a wali. Sorry, you may be chanting Hare Krishna, but you're being a wali.
You're Wali Hare Krishna. A Hare Wali.
I said that the other day to someone yesterday, and Americans don't know that word. So I said, he's a bit of a wali. They were like, it just went like, blah. Wait, what? I said, they're a bit silly, isn't it? Oh yeah, they're a bit silly. Well, welcome. Language barrier. But yes, so don't be a wali,
Don't be a wali,
that's the takeaway. If you see devotees getting mistreated or hurt, it is actually quite normal to speak up, just as it is quite normal with non-devotees, as you would in your workplace or at your college or family. So why not with devotees, for heaven's sakes?
I mean, people don't do it there either because...
No, but I'm saying you're more likely, you're more likely to have an opinion and get stuck in, but sometimes with devotees it's like, oh no, Prabhu, let's not go there. Go where, for heaven's sakes? Devotees are hurt.
But there are devotees of different natures.
Oh,
Here we go. Chaturvarna mayashishtam guna karma vibhagaya. Means that we have people with 4 different kind of natures or inclinations.
Yeah.
And out of those, the Kshatriyas, they have a tendency for justice.
Yeah.
The Brahmanas are just like,
whatever.
well, this is not typical behavior of Brahmanas. I think it's really important to point out, though Prabhupada is stating that saintly persons, may have a tendency to get angry, but in general, the Brahmanas are so exceptionally tolerant because they're just waiting for Krishna to do what he does. They see Krishna's hand in everything, and if someone gets a smack by another person, then they just say, oh, okay, they must have deserved to get a smack, must just be their karma. And that's not wrong either. And this is part of the reason, it's explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, why Krishna said to Arjuna that it won't work for you if you go to the forest. Because your nature is to want to see justice. So if you see two brahmanas, two sadhus in the forest, having a fallout with each other, then you're going to try to get involved and get all into it and try to work it out and see who's right, who's wrong, and do justice. And that's going to be a problem, because then someone's going to curse you, you're going to get cursed, and it's going to be all over. And I won't be able to protect you because you'll be acting against your nature. So we have to find that place where we can act according to our nature and be properly situated. Not that every old person walks around saying this one was wrong, that one's wrong, this, and then you just get a society of everybody moaning and pointing out everybody else's faults. When, what's that saying? He who lives in glass houses. No, don't, he who lives in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks. Isn't that the saying? Yeah. You said he who cast the first, let him cast the first stone who has not sinned. Similar principle, but yeah, if you live in a glass house.
Rocks anyway, whether you live in a glass house.
Sticks and stones may break me bones and all that.
Nice to throw rocks.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Alright, we're going to rock off.
We're going to rock out. Don't be a wally. That's the takeaway. Thanks. Hare Krishna.